coming on this morning just to see how things are going. A day of Thanksgiving, a day of appreciation. Just wanted to know what you guys are feeling. What are you thinking about? What are you grateful for? And how was your Thanksgiving? And just talk about some things that you appreciate in life. Life is great. Life does not always have to be about the bad. Well, let's talk about the good in life. Let's talk about our families, our visions, our purpose in life, our goals, our objectives, and let's just talk about us. Again, my name is Wayman Daniels, host of the Level Up podcast, entrepreneur, professional leadership strategist, open mic communications. Today at 4:30 or 4 o'clock p.m., going live on Facebook, discussion on Level Up will be boys to men. How do we help or assist boys to become men? What is the role of the father? What are the roles of men in the family, the community, and the world? Just wanted to come on just to talk for a little while and just to check in. I haven't been on in a while. Excuse me. But I just wanted to check in to see how the wisdom community is doing. I'm doing well. Had a great time with my family yesterday for Thanksgiving. Went to my parents' house, saw my son, my daughters, my family, and had a great time there. And of course, I saw my dogs, Big Draws, Big Sexy. They were there. Those are my dogs. I saw my grand dog, Bella. It was good to see them. Sit to talk with my father and my mother, who's still living. I'm so grateful and appreciative for that. I'm grateful and appreciative that I didn't get any bad news yesterday. No one is in the hospital. No one is sick. No one was harmed, but my family is doing well. After that, I came home, watched a little football with my family, my wife, my children, and my sons. And then I went to my mother-in-law's house. Had a great time over there. Saw my mother-in-law, saw my sister-in-laws, and had a great time and saw Diamond, which is the dog as well. Had great food. Again, watched football there. And I'm so grateful and so thankful. And then I drove home to continue to watch football. But as I look back over my life and I look at certain things, I take nothing for granted. I appreciate everything that I have. I appreciate everything that I went through. I appreciate my past. I appreciate my present. And I look forward to my future. I was up in the laboratory, the restroom, and I was just thinking, just to be transparent with you just for a moment, I have no work history outside of being an entrepreneur. I've been in and out of the streets and in and out of jail all my life, and I never had a work history. I work here one day, work here 2 months, work here 1 year. My longest tenure of work before becoming an entrepreneur was 3 years. And that 3 years was due to signing a contract to serve in the United States military. And unbeknownst to me that serving in the United States military, that I would receive a pension for the rest of my life. I filed for Social Security 1 year, and by me not having a work history, I got a letter in the mail and said if something was to happen to me right now or retire, how much would my monthly fee be or award from Social Security? And my monthly award from Social Security was going to be $119 at that particular time. And I said, wow, man, you don't have a work history. How are you going to take care of a family at that particular moment? I wanted to get married. I wanted children. And I said, you've been in the streets all your life. You've been in and out of jail. How are you going to take care of a family? You're going to end up being on social service for the rest of your life. And I had to take a look at my life. And I had to make a turnaround. And I said, man, you got to start changing to do something to prepare yourself for your future. And that's when I started to dream. Once I started to dream, I had to start thinking about, how do I make my dreams come true? How can I be successful without a work history? How can I make my dreams come true being a former drug addict? How can I make my dreams come true after going to prison? All these things that I was looking at, saying that how, basically what I was saying, it's not going to happen. I was doing self sabotage to my dreams without even understanding that's what I was doing. But then as I kept on trying to motivate myself, saying, Wayman, not even trying, but motivate myself, this cannot be the rest of your life. I don't use the word mistakes because mistakes are something that you do on an unconscious level. I had made bad choices in life. I chose to be involved in gangs. I chose to do drugs. I chose to go to prison by doing these antisocial behaviors. I chose to drop out of high school. I chose not to get good grades. I chose not to be a good person. These were choices. But after going to prison and starting to dream and starting to awaken to understand that I am not going to be in poverty for the rest of my life, I am not going to continue what we call fail, but I take those life's lessons to propel me to be successful. I never forget when I was in prison. I did 7 years, and I used to walk around in prison and just look around to motivate myself because 99.9% of the prison population is negative. And I had to tell myself that I am not these greens, in other words, the uniform. I am not the DIN number that they gave me. I am someone great. I am someone powerful. I just made bad choices. So upon leaving prison, I had to make up my mind to understand that nothing's worth going back to prison physically. But also I had to make up my mind that nothing was worth going back to being in prison spiritually and psychologically. Because I was in prison way before I went to an actual physical prison. The physical or the emotional prison that I was in, that I thought that I could not succeed, that I thought that I was a failure, that I thought that I could never amount to anything, that I was going to always be a drug addict, that I was always going to walk in antisocial behaviors. This was my mindset. So I was in prison way before I even went to prison. I had very low self esteem. I was hiding behind sub personalities. I was walking in subgroups. But it took me to go to this place called prison, which was my road to Damascus experience, where I had to find a light that shined from heaven, which was God saying, Wayman, you're greater than this. You're better than this. And I love you. And I have a greater purpose for you. And I had an abnormal fear of books. I had a bibliophobia. I was afraid to read books because I was always told that you were going to be dumb. So I believed what I heard. But when I went to prison, I started reading and reading and reading and reading and reading. I fell in love with books. I fell in love with knowledge. I fell in love with finding out different things and learning different things. Because when you understand philosophy, philosophy is just a love of understanding. Because filial is love, brotherly love. But filial, philosophy, the love of wisdom. I started loving wisdom. I started loving to understand. I started loving to learn. I started loving to the possibility of being different than what I was. I saw outside of my neighborhood. I saw outside of my mind. I saw outside of me that this can be you. But when I started looking outside of me, believing that this can be me, then I had to start looking within me to understand that I have to understand in me has to change. So internal change started happening. My mindset started changing, my thinking started changing, my vernacular started changing, but most importantly, my behavior had to change. Remember, in prison, 99.9% is negative. No matter where you may be in life, you might be dealing with negative situations, negative circumstances. You do not have to succumb to the negativity that surrounds you. Your surrounding does not determine who you are, but your internal determines who you are. Believe in yourself, believe that you can do it, and put in the word consistency. I never forget, a person asked me a long time ago, why was McDonald's so successful? And we always would say because of the cheeseburger, the quarter pounder, the french fries. But that's not why McDonald's is successful. McDonald's is successful because they're consistent. Consistency. No matter what McDonald's you go to in the world, they're consistent with their product, they're consistent with their delivery, they're consistent with their marketing, they're consistent with their brand. This is why they're successful. And I said, Wayman, in order for you to be successful in open mic communications, with a level up podcast, with a level up brand, you have to be consistent. But then I have to understand too, why is Walt Disney so successful? Walt Disney doesn't do any much marketing at all. The reason that Walt Disney is so successful is not because of Minnie Mouse, not because of Mickey Mouse, and not because of the rides and et cetera, and things that go on in Disney World and Disneyland. But the reason that they're successful is because they sell memorable moments. Their success is determined upon the memories that they embed in you of having a great time at their location. And in turn, by you having a memorable moment, you will go tell somebody else simply by word of mouth. Level Up podcast, open mic communication, leadership, strategist in business, consistency. So if you want to be successful in your life, in your personal life, in your business life, you must be consistent. You can't be afraid to take a chance. You can't be afraid to open up. You can't be afraid of what they call failure. Failure will always be a part of success. Without failure, you will not succeed, because if you don't fail in some area, you will not learn what works. So embrace failure. Understand that failure is a part of growing. I had to grow. I failed so many times. I just told you. I failed by using drugs. I failed by being in gangs. I failed by going to prison. But those failures helped me to become a better person, to find the true purpose and the true me that was on the inside that I was afraid to allow to come out. So as I sit here now this morning, I haven't been on Wisdom app in probably a month or 6 weeks. I first got my associate's degree when I was in prison. Now I'm working on my bachelor's degree. Now remember, I dropped out of high school in the 10th grade, went and got my GED, went to prison, still got an associate's degree. Now I'm working on my bachelor's degree in marketing and business. And just now opened up another part of another business for my brand and my wear, my apparel. Level Up Apparel. Married, have children, working in the community as an advocate with Stop the Violence, go to church, and I do all these activities not to brag or to be boisterous, but just to show you that you can do anything that you put your mind to. Do the thing that makes you happy. Don't do the thing that makes you money, but do the thing that makes you happy, because in your happiness, you will find peace and joy. I found my niche. I found my niche. Level Up, open my communication, and helping people. I never forget, Dr. Cornelius West would say the same, and I quote, "You can't lead the people if you don't love the people. You can't save the people if you don't serve the people," end of quote. And I like that what he said, because in order to lead people, you must love them. But in order to help people or save people, you must understand that you're nothing more than a servant. But I have to also understand too that my life is worth and has value. I cannot allow anyone to diminish my light. I can't allow anyone to diminish who I am. I must understand my worth and my value. When you understand your worth and your value, you will not allow anyone else to dictate who you are and what you're worth. And we have to look at this too. I can't clone my life or measure my success by your success. A lot of times we have a tendency to say, I make six figures. But when I look at that, I make six figures compared to where I came from, measuring my status quo to the group that I used to be in, and determine that I'm successful by measuring my status quo or my finances based up on those that are impoverished, that's not success. Because if I measure success by what I have, then I'm still not successful. My success is determined on who I am and becoming a better person than who I was. It's not based upon material, but it's based on internal growth. Internal growth is so important to me. Of course, six figures is great. Of course, taking care of my family is wonderful. But I'm not going to look down on those that don't have as much as I have. I was watching a movie, and in the movie, it was this young lady who wanted to work in corporate America. And she walked past the CEO, or the CEO walked past her, and she walked past the CEO. But the young lady who wanted to be successful, who was looking up to the CEO, she saw the CEO, but guess what? The CEO walked past her like she had no worth or value. And an immediate thought came to mind. Do you see me? How often do we walk by people whom we deem, we might not say it on the conscious level, but on the subconscious level, is there, whom we deem that are not in our tax bracket, that don't look like us, that don't sound like us, that don't dress like us, or don't look like me, don't talk like me, don't walk like me, don't drive a car like me. And we walk right by them, not even acknowledging their existence. And that movie stuck with me. Yes, I see you. I hear you. This is what we should be doing for each other. Just because you're in a certain neighborhood, and just because you drive a certain car, just because you went to an Ivy school or a HBCU or whatever type of education, whatever your circumstances may be, does not mean that you should not see me or that I should not see you. We all have one thing in common, and the common thread or denominator is we all are human. But here's another common denominator. We all want to be loved. Everyone in the world, despite what they might say, despite what they might be doing, despite how they may look, despite how they sound, everyone wants love. And by you speaking and seeing that person, acknowledging that person, can give them or be the spark that motivates them to the next level. So I just want to say that I love you. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that we're doing here on the Wisdom app. I appreciate life. I appreciate my family. I appreciate my community. I even appreciate the listeners that are listening now. You have value. Don't allow anyone to devalue you and say that you don't matter. For your price is far above rubies. You are so worth so much. Just look at yourself and look at your life. Look where you come from, look where you're going, and look what you're doing. Your life is changing someone else's life for the better. I never forget, I go back and forth. I must digress just for a moment. I went to the parole board when I was in prison, and I was talking to the parole board, and one of the board members from the parole board says, Mr. Daniels, I must say that you are very encourageable. Now, that word sounds like a very positive word, but that word is a negative word. And it means that a person is not subject to change or subject to reform. So when the individual said those words to me on the parole board, because they had the power to let you go early or stay in prison, and I looked at the individual and I said, I beg to differ. I am subject to reform. I am subject to change because I'm changing now. They didn't let me go home early. I still stayed in prison for the 7 years. But I had to understand, despite what labels people put on you, you don't have to take that label or accept that label that they put on your life. You can put your own label on yourself. Who are you? What labels are you putting on yourself? I made plenty failures in life, and I still make failures and fail today. But in my failures and the things that I fail in, I learned from to become a better person. I'll never forget, I was doing a group, and I was talking to a young man, and I said, "Sir, can you tell me simply who you are?" And he was saying, "I'm funny, I'm happy, I'm tough, I'm this, that, and the third." He did all these outside extremities of descriptions of who he was. And I looked at the young man, I said, "Those are outside descriptions, but who are you as a person?" When you're sitting in your room, sitting by yourself, and you're talking and having monologue with yourself, and you're having self thoughts with yourself and thinking within yourself, what are you thinking and what are you talking about with yourself? And he opened up and he started telling me who he was from the internal, and he started crying. And I said to the young man, "Why are you crying?" He says, "Because this is who I really am. But I never get a chance to show people because they laugh at me for being who I am. And so I have to put up these many masks to be who they want me to be. And that in turn makes me sad. That used to be me. I used to be that young man. I used to downplay being educated and smart. So I played like I was dumb in school. I used to pretend like I was tough and I was hard and that I didn't care anybody. So I joined the gang. I used to want to fit in so bad with people that I had such low self-esteem that I started doing drugs, even though I didn't want to do drugs. But I did it because I wanted to fit in. I was searching for that love and to be accepted by a community. But it wasn't a community. It was a set group that accepted me, but the other groups didn't accept me for who I was. So I went into these antisocial groups or these subgroups. And by me going to these places or to these things, it led me to another group, the penal system. All these things that I was doing was trying to do for other people, but was not doing for Wayman Daniels. And when I hit that stop sign, I had to stop and really look both ways. Then look in front and then look behind and look in my rear view mirror and say, "Man, do you see how you got here? Look back at all the things that you have done. Look to your right and see what was coming. Look to your left and see what was coming. But look ahead to see where you're going." I had to start looking ahead, but looking back to remember where I come from and look forward to where I want to go. Wayman, what are you saying? Look back to see where you've been so you can know where you're going and what changes you need to make so you can go forward. But look right to see if any danger's on the right, and look left to see if any danger's on the left. And then you can proceed to go forward. It's called a strategy. It's called being consistent. You must be consistent in order to succeed. We're not just talking about being successful as a business person. We're talking about being successful in being who you are, excuse me, or who you want to be. We hear so many people talk about monetizing and materialistic things and this, that, and the third because they make it seem like your happiness is defined by what you obtain as far as materialistic thing goes. But what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? What will it profit me to have all the money in the world, have all the cars in the world, have all the jewelry in the world, have all the businesses that I want, but I'm still not happy? Because I'm doing it because I want to make it seem like I have value by what I have, not understanding that my value is not, again, determined by materialistic things. My value is determined by who I believe that I am and what product am I putting out. The product, my product. You guys want to hear what Wayman Daniels' product is? My product is love. My product is empathy. My product is caring about other people. My product is humanity. That's my product. See, I'm not worried about money. I'm not worried about being popular. I'm not worried about being famous. I'm not striving to be anything other than who I am. Now, those things will come, but I have to understand really that my product simply is me. My brand is Wayman Daniels. Consistency in being who I am. Change cannot change until you change. I can talk about change all day, but if I don't put in the work to change, then I won't change. You have a moment, you have momentum, but a moment with momentum without movement, there's no change and there's no growth. You have to come to a place where you start moving in the direction that you would like to move in. So I challenge you, have a moment, have momentum, but most importantly, start the movement or the move towards what you're trying to be or who you're trying to become. Love is not something to be scared of. Love is something that we should embrace because we all want it. Some people don't know how to love. Some people are afraid to love. Again, the prison that I was talking about, the emotional prison, the psychological prison, the physical prison. Get free from those things. Learn, read as many books as you can. Open up and be vulnerable. There's nothing wrong with that. The thing that hurts us the most is when we become callous, hard to emotions, hard to feel, hard to love, hard to empathy, hard to caring. I don't know how we can see people hurting and it doesn't bother us. I ride around in the certain neighborhoods, and when I see certain things, I get disheartened and trying to figure out ways how can I assist this person. A matter of fact, I want to share something very personal with you. I have a cousin who is mentally challenged. He stays out on the streets, and every time I see him, I talk to him. He's out there doing drugs, and he's homeless. But my cousin doesn't have to be homeless, and he has a case manager who takes care of his money and his finances. But my cousin is mentally ill, and I'm trying to find out who his case manager is so that I can help my cousin because my cousin, if he's getting a check, he should not be living on the streets. And the case manager, that whoever his case manager is, should be doing to me, because I used to be a case manager, doing a better job for his well being. His mental health is at danger. His life is at danger because where I'm at in New York State, it's getting cold outside. So he's sleeping outside in abandoned buildings. And so I want to get in contact with his social worker to find out why can't we commit my cousin who is mentally ill into an institution for his well-being. But not just him. What about those other ones that are sleeping up under bridges that we just walk by? The ones that are out there begging for money that we just walk by and we don't see them. Remember when I said about this movie that I saw, and this lady was admiring the CEO? The lady that admired the CEO, she saw the CEO, but the CEO walked right by her like she didn't even matter because she was not in her tax bracket, because she didn't dress like her, because she didn't talk like her, because she didn't walk like her, because she didn't look like her. This is the same thing with the homeless, the drug addicts, and so forth and so forth. Just people in general. You can walk right by people and not even speak. It costs you nothing. I went to go get my eyes checked the other day, and as I walked into the office of the people of the establishment, I walked in and I spoke to everybody, had several conversations with people. And as we were sitting there conversing, one lady says, "You know what? I really appreciate you taking the time to acknowledge me and to see me and to speak." She says, because that has become such a lost art in the dispensation and time that we live in now. Because a lot of people think because you speak, you have an ulterior motive. Well, that might be true. Here's my ulterior motive for speaking: to encourage you, to let you know that it's okay to speak. That's my ulterior motive. It's just, I was taught again by my aunt a lot of life lessons. I have a lot of them. My auntie told me a long time ago, but it didn't register until I started to change and wanted to be a better person. She says, "Wayman, it's just nice to be nice, and it costs you nothing." I also didn't mention to you that I was suicidal because I didn't believe that my life was worth living. But one day someone came to me and told me that I matter and that they love me. And when they said that, that's ignited a spark in me to let me know that someone cared. And I never had that thought of suicide again, because now someone has placed value on me that sparked value in me. You do matter. You are important. Your life makes a great big difference in other people's lives. Your smile, just your presence alone motivates someone to let them know that, you know what, if they can do it, I can do it too. I never forget, we always say that we are a product of our environment. Well, external environments should never dictate internal environment. Because if I live by my external environment and allow it to do what it's been doing, I will be still stuck in the same situation I was in maybe 20, 25 years ago. But my internal environment had to change, even if my external environment doesn't. We were talking a while back on several shows that I have done on the Wisdom Map talking about violence. And when we were talking about violence, we were talking about gun violence. But I had to understand that violence is not just one dimensional. It's not just about gun violence, what we see on the news. It's about domestic violence. It's about rape. It's about child abuse. It's about psychological abuse. All these things are violence. And open up our minds to understand that all these things can limit us from being the best version of ourselves. Just the other day, when I was talking about the violence a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, a 4-year-old boy got shot in the head, and then a 3-year-old just recently got shot. But then, not even 7 days ago, a 12-year-old just got killed, and a 16-year-old just got shot. And we were talking, I do a lot of symposiums and talking to people, and the narrative is that we need to change gun laws and we need to do this and we need to do that. If you change the gun laws, if you do stiffer penalties, people would think about what they're doing. And I simply said to this, and I want to share a story with you if you don't mind. It was a grandmother who had a grandson at her house. And the grandson kept coming in the kitchen where grandma was while she was trying to prepare dinner. So grandma would send the grandson to do something, but he would do it so quickly. She would say, "Grandson, go outside and take out the trash." He would go take the trash out and run back into the kitchen. Grandma said, "Well, go watch TV." He would watch TV, but he wasn't interested in watching TV. He would come back in the kitchen. So grandma said, "Grandson, come here. I have a puzzle, 3,000 pieces. I want you to put together. It's a puzzle of the world. I want you to take your time and put it together and come back and show grandma." The young man went in the room and came back 5 minutes. Grandma was puzzled, saying, "Grandson, how in the world did you put a 3,000 piece puzzle together in 5 minutes?" The young man said to his grandmother, "Grandma, I simply turned the box over and there was a picture of a man." And he said, "When I put the man in place in the world came together that quickly." Long story short is, if we put the man back in place in the family, in the community, in the homes, the world can become a better place, because men are the key to everything that's going on. Well, you said, why did you say that? Because if you look at Adam, the first man, when the first man did what he did, it affected the entire family, because the man is the head. And if the head is messed up, then the body is messed up. So men have to get back into the position of not just being fathers, but being the leaders that we're supposed to be, and being the foundation of our families, of our communities, and then it extends outside of that. So when I went on to another show and they had me on as a guest, and we were talking about this, fathers, how important it is to be a father, but being the right father. I want to share something with you. I was married before in my first marriage, and in my first marriage, I was on drugs. I was bringing home real good money, and I would take my check and give my first wife so much money, not letting her know how much money I was really making, being dishonest, being deceitful because I wanted my drugs. And I would go and do my drugs, and after I would spend my money, I would come back home. But I had two children, a father, but not a father. I had the title of father, I had the title of dad, but I wasn't doing the job of a father or the job of a dad. I was in the home, but I was not in the home. I was physically there, but I was not there emotionally. I was not there psychologically, and I was not there to physically, what I mean physically, to do things with them, because once I finished doing drugs, I was too tired. I wanted to rest. And my children, we talk about that, say, Dad, you were there, but you wasn't there. How many fathers are in the house, but not in the house? Meaning you're physically there, but you're not there psychologically, emotionally, and you're not there to support. But you come in as a dictator. But you don't, our way of showing love was as long as I'm providing. But a child needs more than just provision. A child needs love. A child needs nurturing. A child needs to be taught. A child needs direction. A wife needs love. A wife needs nurturing. A wife needs direction. A child in a family or community needs to see unity in the home so that it can give someone else hope. And let's talk about this just for a moment. You go to the doctors or you go to the hospital and you just been diagnosed with cancer. Let's just say a terminal illness. And the doctor determines that you have 6 months to live. And by you listening to what the doctor said, which might be a fact, you get determined in your mind, I have 6 months to live. And guess what happens? When you lose hope, your drive to live dies. When you lose hope in life in general, your drive to be successful, to be anything different dies. So I want you to grab hold of hope today and understand, when you hope and believe in you, believe and have hope in your gifts, you can succeed and live. Never lose hope. Never lose your purpose. Never lose your vision of who you want to become and who you are becoming right now. Remember consistency. I need to be better than who I was yesterday. I determined that I will not live less than who I am. Now, some people are, I often talk about these gurus and these people who are now saying, understand your purpose, understand who you are. I believe in you. You too can have this for $15.99. I'm going to help you find yourself. I listen to all these people and I listen to all their hype. For $1,000, I can assist you. I'm like, man, come on, man. You're just another person out here trying to make money off of me. You're just another person saying the same old thing. And I will never forget this. I got caught up in the hoopla where I hired two people to help me um, with my business. And you know what? I determined that the money that I was spending with these two people, I could have kept and done myself, because everything that they were telling me, I already knew and I was already doing. But they fixed up the cake so nice because I thought I didn't know how to do it. And I counsel people and I talk to people. I'm talking to several people now who wants to do workshops, who wants to write books and work in the community. And I sit and I tell them point blank, the answer is already in you. You don't need to outsource or go to anyone else for what's already in you. So what I do when I talk to people, I talk to them about them and have them to acknowledge who they are on the inside and show them that what you're looking for is already in you. Now go implement it. Just do it. Just go ahead and do it. So I was talking to, like I was saying, I was talking to an individual where I was thinking about going to another training. And I asked the individual, what makes you different from the past two individuals that I worked with? And they said to me, Wayman, I really couldn't tell you. I don't know what makes me different from them. And when they gave me that response, I knew immediately that that person or that agency wasn't the agency for me. But then I determined within myself, Wayman, you don't spend enough money following people. Follow Wayman. Follow who you are. Believe in who you are. Be consistent with who you are. And so now when people ask me what makes Level Up Podcast different, what makes Level Up Gear Apparel different, what makes Open Mic Communications leadership strategist different, you know what I tell the people? And they be baffled by the answer. You, what makes me different from everybody else. My listeners right now that are listening to me right now, you make me different from the other Wisdom App podcast hosts on right now. And the reason you make me different because you took time to listen to me. You could have listened to other people right now doing podcasts. You could have been listening to what they said or what they're saying. So when people ask me what makes Open Mic Communication different, what makes Level Up Podcast different, I say you make it different because you chose to follow Open Mic Communications, Level Up Podcast, and you make it different. You are the key to me being different. And what made me want to start Wisdom App or Level Up Podcast and Open Mic Communications? Well, let's just talk about the Wisdom App or podcasting to become a host of a podcast. I was listening to podcasts and I just got tired of hearing podcasts and people talking basically about nothing. I'm like, where's the content? Where's the hope and where's the strategy behind all this? Are we just getting on just to be heard to see how many followers we have? And I said, you know what? I want to start a podcast called Level Up. I want to go on the Wisdom app to encourage, to build, to show people, give people hope. Because there are so many negative things going on in the world. We can talk about negative stuff all day. I hear that so much. I'm like, I'm so tired of hearing the negative stuff. What about the positive stuff? What about the joy of life? Life is joyful. Life is great. I love what I'm doing. So I decided to start a podcast. And on my podcast, we talk about mental health. We talk about a lot of things. Today I'm doing a podcast at 4 p.m. on social media. A matter of fact, it's going to be live on Facebook, but then it will be later on Instagram and later on TikTok. But then I'm going to post it on YouTube. So if you would like to see any of my podcasts, just simply type Wayman, Waymon, Daniels, Level Up, and you can see the material and the information that I put out. The podcast that we're going to be doing today with Minister Kenneth, we will be discussing boys to men, how to assist young men or young boys to become men. What's the strategy behind without giving up on them? Despite what we might see, despite what they might be doing, we still can help them and guide them down the path that will lead them to internal success as well as external success. I need you. You need me. We need each other. We are in this thing collectively, and we must work together to make this world a better place, to make me a better person, to make you a better person, to make our community a better place. I can't do it without you. I truly appreciate you guys listening. Uh, just wanted to say, don't allow anyone to diminish your light or your value. You are bright. You are worth a lot. Hold on and keep pressing forward and be thankful for what you have. Appreciate what you have. Appreciate who you are. Appreciate where you come from. Appreciate where you're going. If you would like to contact me just to talk or words of encouragement, you can always email me at Daniels, Daniels, Wayman, Waymon, 248 at yahoo.com. I'll be more than happy to correspond with you there via email. You can also reach me on any social media outlet. I'm on Instagram. You can direct message me there. TikTok, direct message me there. You can also direct message me on Facebook. Also, you can go on YouTube to see the stuff that I'm doing there. If you want to get in contact with me pertaining to leadership strategies and things of that nature, you can also just call me or email me at openmycommunications5 at gmail.com. Openmycommunications5 at gmail.com. If you want to just talk to me here, you can always direct message me here, and I will be more than happy to correspond with you. Again, you be encouraged, for you matter, and I do see you. I do hear you. Remember that your life has value and purpose. Hey, guys, have a great day. My name is Wayman Daniels. I truly enjoyed you guys, and thank you for listening. Have a great day.